We live in a palace of possibilities. Okay, that's a kind of a metaphor for it. It's another way of saying we have far more potential than we're using. Okay, now I didn't tell anybody here anything you didn't know, all right, with that sentence, all right? But the palace of possibilities is a delightful metaphor because, see, the palace of possibilities represents all of our potential. It's filled with joyous rooms and rooms of abundance and success and achievement and everything else we want. It's filled with that all over the place. However, what we tend to do is stay in our own rooms. There are comfort zones, okay? Those other rooms, well, maybe we deserve to be in them. Maybe, we should be there. Maybe, we could belong there. But other people occupy those rooms. Richer people, more connected people, luckier people, maybe. People with more talent than me, or people that are smarter than me, or whatever the reason may be. Those other rooms, they're for other people. I don't quite belong there. I'm in my room with my comfort zone, okay? And the interesting thing about my room with my comfort zone is it has walls on it, okay? And the walls have writing on them that I read every day. And these walls are filled with my cans and my can'ts and my shoulds and my shouldn'ts and my musts and my must-nots and all my beliefs and all my attitudes and everything, all my experiences and everything that have come to be the truth for me are written on my walls, and I see them all the time. And so if I'm going to do something new and step out of my room, I may read my walls and it says, but you can't do that. That's for other people to do. Oh, yeah, but if you do that, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Or you don't have an experience for that, Or, your mother, she's going to get on you if you do that. And so on. So these are very, very powerful writings on our walls. And we're going to talk about the writing on our walls all day long today, okay? What might be written on our walls? Well, let me say it differently. Where does this writing come from? And we're going to need microphones for this, some if I can, but let me ask, who writes on your walls?
Well, ultimately, I think we do, but we pick it up from a lot of different cultural
Do parents write on walls?
Well, they tell us things and they
Yes.
splatter the paint.
They splatter the paint, okay. Who writes on your walls?
I was going to say parents, or there's always teachers or other kids or friends.
Yeah, I had teachers, yes, friends, teachers, correct. I remember, I heard back in like second or third grade or something, there was the teacher, I even forgot exactly what she said, but she's talking about economics, or like finance and money, and she was a third grade teacher teaching, reading or something, okay? But she talked about it as though she knew what it was, and I don't even remember the words anymore. All I can remember was big limits. Okay, only rich people do this. Only rich people, can make money, or greedy people can make money. Stuff like that. Okay, and I just remember the feeling of it. The words don't come, but see, teachers tell it. They write on our walls positive and negative. Okay, who else writes on our walls? Deanne, who writes on your walls?
I think basically parents.
They do a lot of the writing.
Old writing.
Yeah, they do a lot of writing. Go back here to Tom.
As kids, we wrote on our own walls based on how we saw the world according to our parents and those around us, and what was safe and what wasn't.
What was safe and what wasn't? Yeah, is another way to say that is we have our own experiences. For a very simple example is you're riding your bicycle and you go too fast, you fall down and you hurt yourself. Okay, you just had an experience. Nobody wrote on your wall, but you said to yourself, "I'm not riding my bicycle fast and falling down, or I'm going to be more careful," or something, because you've got something written on your walls that says you do this and you get pain. Okay? And so a lot of our writing is very helpful for us. I mean, it's quite useful, isn't it? I have writing on my walls that say, "Don't kiss rattlesnakes." And it's quite helpful. It's quite helpful. I really enjoy, maybe we can go over here. Beth, who writes on your walls? Who else writes on your walls, if you could think of somebody, other than what we talked about?
Oh, well, all my ancestors, they're not actually doing the writing. I have, but I've been persuaded to pick up the stylus and mark.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you tune into past lives in a way.
No, that's not what I mean.
Okay.
What I mean is oh God, we're going to get into physics here.
Well, make
Yep.
it brief, can you?
Yes, I will attempt to do so. According to what we are best able to understand of physics, there's no such thing as solidity or if you will, the hardness of matter. It's all energy, mostly space.
99.999999%.
So people say you're spacey, you say fine, that's just the way it is. And by consensual norm, we agree that everything has to be rigid, solid, and more or less immutable. But it ain't really so.
Yes, okay. What I was going to pick up from on the ancestor thing is there's another piece of it. Oftentimes, the writing on our walls that seem to have come from our parents, where did our parents get it? From their parents. And where did they get it? From their parents and so on. And a lot of times we get hand-me-down stuff that's been handed down and handed down and handed down, and it lands on us as the truth, and we walk around believing it and acting according to it, and nobody's questioned it in the meantime. It's just the way things are. Some of this is very laughable. We're going to get into some details here, but it's quite laughable, a lot of this, you know. But anyway, does the TV write on your wall? Oh, yeah. Yeah. We were talking the other day in one of our other workshops about what love is. Does TV tell you what love is? It portrays it all over the place, does it not? In a certain way. And so do books, do they not? And movies and that kind of thing? Yeah. When I was around 10 years old, my grandmother on my mother's side, her name was Grandma Effie, is what we call her, stayed with us for, I think, about a year. And my parents would go off to work, and I'd be home in the summertime, and I'd be with Grandma Effie. And so Grandma Effie would write on my walls, okay? And she was very sincere, very sincere. And one of the things she would say to me was, don't get too excited about anything, because you wouldn't want to be disappointed. Okay? Interesting thing to put on a kid's walls, right? And so I would listen to that, and she didn't say it once. She said over, because was this the truth to her, by the way? Absolutely. Was she trying to limit me with this? No, not at all. She was trying to help me, because this is the truth according to her, okay? So she's trying to take her little grandson, you know, and protect him from emotional pain. Don't get too excited about anything, because you wouldn't want to be disappointed, or you'll get disappointed, okay? And I remember I used to live at the time I was living in Long Beach, California, which is near Los Angeles, which at the time they had a fun zone there called the Pike. That's what it was called, roller coaster and a bunch of rides. And for a 10-year-old, that was, wow, that's what you do. And, you know, once in a while we get to go to the Pike. But my parents would say, we're going to go to the Pike this weekend, this Saturday. And I go, oh, wow, what would Grandmother Effie say to me? Don't get too excited. You might get disappointed. And I thought for a minute, you know, I get all worked up about this. If I can't go, I'm not going to like it. So I bought into that for a while. Now, thank God, Grandma Effie was only around for about a year. Because, you see, people are consistently writing on our walls. All over, every day, I'm writing on your walls right now. Okay? When you have conversations, you're writing on each other's walls because you're reflecting your own beliefs and attitudes and so on and so forth. And so all this gets added into thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of things on your wall, and some just kind of sort of stand out, you see? But fortunately, that was overridden, or I wouldn't be here giving this, okay? I get very excited about this, and if it doesn't go well, I don't want to be disappointed, right? You know, I'm like my thumb, okay? When I was a kid, my parents used to say to me, I'd be sitting there eating dinner, my dad in particular would say, clean your plate, Gary. The children in Asia are starving. Okay, so I'd clean my plate. Now, notice I never questioned that, at least at the time. Oh, the children in Asia are starving. I better clean my plate, as though cleaning my plate really had something to do with that other problem. Okay, but that's what I would do. I am now 59 years old. Anybody have dinner with me last night? Did I clean my plate? Don't always clean my plate, but often I will clean my plate, even when I'm not hungry anymore. I will clean my plate. Isn't that? And I've never worked on that with EFT or anything like that. I've never bothered. It's not a big deal to me, but I do notice it. I do notice it. I have this thing to clean my plate, and it's a nonsensical logic, if you will. But see, we don't always act just by logic. We act by our emotions. How many of you back here? We have another Another comment, question?
It's just a comment. I noticed that one of the big contributors to writing on our walls is religion. If your parents are active in church and you're
Sure.
bombarded with
Oh yeah,
various
yeah,
beliefs.
and without making necessarily any religious comments, there's something called the Ten Commandments, which are a bunch of thou shalts and so on. I'm not commenting on they're good or bad, but they are written on your walls. If in fact that's your religious upbringing, thou shalt this, thou shalt not that, and so on and so forth. And so whether those are true or not, they are true for you to the extent you buy, and they are part of your truth. Okay. In the Catholic religion, as I understand it, if you get married, you're supposed to stay married. I mean, and if you don't, well, and that's part of your truth. So if you happen to be Catholic and you happen to want to get divorced or something, you have all this to deal with because you have to deal with the writing on your walls about this truth. Somebody else doesn't find that true at all, which is interesting because, let me ask you, your version of the truth, is it exactly the same as mine? No. Is it exactly the same as the person sitting next to you? Or the person you're married to? Or lovers with? Is it the same as your kids? Or your parents? No. It may reflect your parents, but you have other inputs beside that. How many of you grew up with the writing on your walls that went something like this? Children should be seen and not heard. Okay? Now, some of us just sort of let that one go. Okay? I heard that somewhere, but I didn't hear it very much. So I didn't. This child gets heard a lot. Okay? But other people have that, and boy, let me tell you, it rings every time they need to get up in front of somebody or speak up about something or stand up for their own rights or whatever. They become the little child that should not be heard. I'm curious, as I'm talking about this, does anybody have writing on your walls that's coming up that you can share with us? Something that just shows up? Go ahead, right here. Wait, we need this.
My mom, as I left the house, used to say, "Be careful, honey."
Be careful.
Honey.
Be careful, honey.
Yes,
Which
yes.
which means what to you?
I'm not sure. It doesn't mean much anymore. It used to mean, I think it ingrained a lot of fear, about being in the world and having experiences. And
Yes.
something bad might happen to me or something dangerous is just waiting for me.
Yes. And quite often something can get said and we can, as we talked about earlier, misinterpret. I want to do something if I can. Your first name is? Rose or Rosemarie?
Rose, everybody
Okay,
calls me Rose.
Okay, Rose. Listen, I think you are so gorgeous that you could walk out of the centerfold of a Playboy magazine. I absolutely believe that. Okay?
Well, thank you.
Now, what I want to point out to you is what is not important is what I said. That is not important at all, is what you said in your self-talk to me. She said any one of a number of things. Well, you're right. Okay? You could have said that. You could have said, well, yeah, but you don't know about the thing under, okay? Or whatever. Or you could say, or whatever. I mean, you would evaluate what I said, and what was important was not what I said to you, it's what you said to you, and that's what's written on your walls.
Yes.
It's your interpretation of it. See, I can write on your walls and use the words. It's your interpretation of those words that are going to count. Okay? Quite often, though, if somebody said something, our interpretation is pretty clear for both people. Then, anyway, who else has something that's written on your walls? I'm curious. Back here to JoJo.
What came up for me when you said children should be seen and not heard, it's women should be seen and not heard.
Oh, that's a little limit, isn't it?
Big one. Big one.
Yeah. There's another one called something like the glass ceiling, which, for business purposes, for women, there's this glass ceiling. And while there certainly seems to be evidence of it, there are some people who ignore it totally. They don't know anything about a glass ceiling, and women go right through it.
Well, when I was growing up as women my age in this room, you could either be a teacher or a nurse or a mother. I mean, you didn't have any other occupation.
Sure.
So when you went to college, it's like, why do you want to go to college? Well, you're going to either be a teacher or a nurse.
And that attitude is tending to change nowadays. Youngsters growing up nowadays aren't really getting that.
No,
But
they
the
aren't.
point is, you got that, and it's on your walls in some place.
Right.
And you can logically look at it and say, no. But emotionally, we respond differently. Okay? Who else? You had something here, Holly, right?
Yeah, one thing I got a lot was don't talk back. If I was going to, maybe somebody was punishing me or something, I couldn't defend myself. And I realized a couple of years ago how in that we're being taught not to be able to say no and not to be able to protect ourselves, and how powerful that has been for me, too.
Yeah. But I want to ask you, when somebody says don't talk back, What's your interpretation? That means what to you? Don't talk back. Like, I'm not worth talking back? Or what does that mean?
What first comes up is trouble if I talk back. So
Trouble.
there's
like
a
maybe
lot of emotion coming.
maybe
in.
a spanking or a verbal abuse or something like that. I mean, there's consequences.
There are
talking
definite
about.
consequences.
Yeah, okay. So you see, but let me point out, somebody can have that written on their walls, but it doesn't mean that every time it literally takes place, like if you and I are having a conversation and you disagree, that it doesn't mean you'll never disagree or take another side to it. But if the argument gets heated somehow or other, and I said, well, are you talking back to me? Chances are, your turtle head's going to go back in your shell. It may or may not, but you're going to have that tendency. That's the point.
Right.
Okay. None of these things are absolutely exact, but right here if we can. Go ahead.
I had a really supportive mother, and she would say to me, "You are an amazing person, and you're going to do something great with your life." And she said that to me when I was very small.
Yes, and your mother and my mother should meet. I put out on our email, our website, a whole series called The Palace of Possibilities. We're taking that written series and bringing it to life here. But one of my sections was the world's greatest psychotherapist, which is my mother, okay? Because she was constantly amazed at everything that I did. She grew up in a very impoverished circumstance. Her mother was schizophrenic. That's my grandma Effie. Yeah. And always told the kids she didn't want them. And she didn't. She was a single mother. The husband split. She scrubbed floors, etc. And so, my mom really grew up with a very low self-image. And anything that a child of hers did that was even remotely meritorious was astonishing. I grew up as Wonder Boy. I'm honest to God, I grew up as Wonder Boy. I remember one time I came home from about third grade and my mother said, "What'd you do today?" And I said, "We had a spelling bee." "Oh, okay. How'd you do?" I said, "Well, I got third place." Well, third place is pretty good, but it's not Harvard stuff, all right? She calls her friends, and for the next couple of months, as I'm around the house, people come over and say, "Good speller I hear, huh? Spell garage for me." So I go, Garage. God, that's good. That's good. But we're laughing about that, but that is very serious. That's written on my walls big time. I grew up, and anything that didn't work out well for me, and I live in this world too, and things don't work out. It's a real world out here. But it wasn't, "Oh my God, I failed," or anything like that. It was, "Oh, I stubbed my toe." Because see, when you launch off of being Wonder Boy or anything like that, that's how the world looks to you. And I did not understand for years how people had problems. I didn't understand that. I really did not. It's a gift. It's an absolute gift to have what you had and what I had, okay? Not everybody has that right. I have some other writing on my walls which is limiting, okay, and I had to deal with it. But my mother was such a foundational thing. Amazing writing on my walls. My high school football coach was another one, and I'm going to pay tribute to him right after lunch. You'll see that. What else is written on? Who else has something written on your walls? Back here.
Little girls are made of sugar and spice.
Little girls are made of sugar and spice. Which means what?
I guess I wasn't a little girl because I was a tomboy.
You were a tomboy?
And they wanted me to be daddy's little girl, and I never could be.
Oh, and therefore you didn't match up?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Now that would be an interesting little writing on your wall, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite match up in some fashion because of that writing.
Right.
Okay, yeah, back here to Shamiran.
Shamiram.
Shamiram.
But this is true. My father had made a big and a frame. No yelling, no beating, no cursing. Always joy in the house. And every time.
Or else.
and he would really show us every day. It was written and framed by the door.
On the walls. Literally on the wall.
Really on the wall,
Yeah.
really framed and everything written.
Yes, marvelous. Back, here to Nate, if we could. Right here.
I learned no pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. And what does that mean?
It's not worth anything unless you suffer a bit.
Yes, of course. And a corollary to that is if you're going to do anything worthwhile in this world, you've got to use willpower. You've got to clench your teeth and grit clench your fist and grit your teeth and do what must be done, right? And work long hours and suffer in your terms otherwise you're not going to be able to make it. Okay? That's a real limit, especially in the business world. Yeah, good. Thank you. Back here.
I just wanted to say about the no pain, no gain. This EFT, that's where I have it goes against that. Like, if it's not hard, you don't suffer, it can't be valuable.
Yeah, EFT will do that, yes. Yeah. In order for us to really do this well, we've got to take weeks and months and analyze it and blah, 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 blah. We can't just sit there and go tap and all of a sudden I have a cognition change and it wasn't a big deal. It has to happen forever. I mean, there has to be pain and tears and all that. Well, we have a little pain and tears once in a while, but they're relatively modest and brief. But yeah, thank you. Who else has something written on your wall? Right here, to Kathy.
Well, my mom always promised that if I climbed up in trees, I would fall out and break my arm.
Oh, she promised you that.
She did, and I always thought that as a kid that was cool. So I would climb the trees, and I never fell out and broke my arm.
Oh, poor Kathy. Well, but did that mean you were a failure at climbing trees?
Well,
Serious question,
I'm not
by the way.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
always disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
However you take that on, see, it's your
Yeah.
interpretation of these things, too. There was somebody, right here. Right here's another one from Holly. It's Holly, isn't it? Yeah.
I just thought of a whole other aspect, that my parents tended not to communicate verbally very much.
Sure.
So there's a lot of writing on my walls that comes from what I observed from them.
Of course.
Or the kinds of things that happened to
Yes.
them, and then the assumptions and the interpretations that I made, and then I wrote those on my walls.
Yeah, of course, of course. One could say, and this is semantics, they wrote it on your walls by their behavior or lack of behavior or something. You wrote it on your wall, whatever. It gets written on your walls. And I tend to say people write on your walls or things write on your walls. But in fact, we will write there ourselves, okay? But it's because of some other input that causes us to do the writing. Back here. Go ahead. Oh.
Excuse me.
Rosa.
I had a very nice experience when I had my surgery when I was younger, which was major surgery, and the doctor said to me, "It's like tonsils. I do it every day. Don't worry about a thing." And I went through the scoliosis surgery beautifully, and I recovered quickly where my roommate didn't, and a lot of the girls on the floor didn't recover as quickly as I did.
Indeed. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, all right. Here. Just up there. We're gonna play a little catch here. I want to talk now a little bit about how we respond to the writing on our walls. And let me ask you a question. Is it Sarah? Yes. Let me ask you a question, Sarah. If you had a bowl of soup in front of you, and you had a typical knife and fork and spoon and napkin and all of that, and you want to eat the here. You want to eat the soup? How are you going to eat it? What are you going to do?
Well, if it has a lot of stuff in it, I'll take the spoon and eat all the stuff first, and then I'll drink the rest.
Oh, okay. All right. Here. Notice what she said very calmly and very casually. I'll take the spoon because you chose the spoon.
Yes.
That's the point. You didn't choose the fork or the knife.
No.
Now, what I want to point out, this is very simple, but it's something we do all the time, all day long. You consulted the writing on your walls about how to eat this soup, and it said use the spoon. But you didn't sit there and say, now, how should I eat this soup? And it says, well, don't use the fork and don't use the spoon, or don't use the knife, but use the... That's not, it happens quickly.
Right.
It's already built in there. It's an automatic reaction that you have. But the truth of how to eat soup has already been in your experience. It's always in your knowledge base, which is the writing on your walls. So you consulted the writing on your walls about how to do that.
Right.
Okay? Let me tell you something else that you're doing. Here, you can have that back, okay? You want to give it back to me? Okay. Everyone here is doing this, by the way. Every single word that I'm saying, your system is consulting the writing on your walls about what does that mean. And it happens in an instant, okay? And so you're making meaning of it, okay? And so each word that I say, you get the meaning of it. But then there are phrases and sentences and paragraphs that I say and whole concepts that you will ask what the whole concept means, and it would give you an answer. By the way, it'll be a different answer for many of you, because you'll have to go through the writing on your walls through which you interpret what I'm saying or what's like in the world around you is different. So you're going to make a different interpretation of these words that I say. Everybody here is, okay? I'm trying to write on your walls, if I can, some positive things, but you also have some writing on your walls that you have to interpret it through. It has to comply with your existing truth. If it doesn't, you're going to have a little trouble with it, okay? So some of the things I say, some of you will go, yeah. Others people go like, huh? Okay? And that's because you consulted the writing on your walls, and it either fit or it didn't fit. So I have quite a challenge here, don't I? I'm talking to all these different walls and all these different writing on it, and I'm trying to make some points that would be useful to everybody. That's a real challenge, okay? Here. Now, I've been throwing this ball around a little bit to people here. And it's really kind of simple. I just do this to make a real simple little point. But when I do that, you have to consult your walls as to what to do, okay? Don't you? And the walls say, well, put your hands up and catch it, right? Very routine, very routine. Put your hands up and catch it, right? That's so routine, but you do it all day long. You constantly consult the writing on your walls. So my question to you is the writing on your walls important? Yeah, it's very important. It is your truth. It is your truth. The truth in this world, as you know, how the world works, how it doesn't work, and so on and so forth. Let's see if I couldn't try to sing a little song. Forgot where that capo belongs. There was a Walt Disney animation phenomenon years ago called Pinocchio, okay? And in it was this, at the time, and still, fairly well-known song, sung by that world-famous singer, Jiminy Cricket, okay? Who had one hit single, if you will. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true, right? So, who would like to come up and sing it with me? One hand. All right? Now listen. Well, yeah, you know, not right now. 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 I want to point something out. I said, who would like to come up and sing it with me? This whole workshop is entitled The Palace of Possibilities. You knew that before you ever walked in here, that this is going to be an opportunity for you to get out of your own room in your own room in the palace, right? To walk beyond the words on your walls. I gave you the opportunity. What I want to know is, what did your walls say to you? Okay, right here. What did they say to you, Jojo?
Okay, I was thinking about it, and I thought I'd really like to do that, but somebody always gets there before me.
Okay, and what did it say to you, Lori?
I said, go ahead, Cassie.
Okay, and what did it say to you? Hey, but why did you say that?
Because I liked her voice when she was singing earlier.
Okay, and why didn't you do it?
Oh, not me.
But why? Well, it just says not me? Is there a why behind it? Ask Myron. Ask Myron. Why didn't you do it?
My voice is no good anymore.
Your voice is no good anymore. Okay, all right. Go ahead.
My mom told me I can't sing.
Your mom told you can't sing?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. All right. Back here.
I was thinking to myself that I'm not going up there. I don't want people laughing at me.
Ah, because?
I'd be embarrassed.
And you'd be embarrassed because?
Geez, I'm not sure.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right. Right here.
This just goes so perfectly with the comment I was going to make before around feeling afraid of being seen. It wasn't the heard thing. It was more about being seen. Well, I guess this would be both. But and that if I am seen or heard, people have negative judgments about me. Mm-hmm. And there's a perfect little story. Yesterday I was dancing, and I was kind of like just letting myself go and having fun, just trying it out. And my 4-year-old says, "Mom, stop, you look stupid."
Okay. Is a 4-year-old,
So I wasn't going to get up and sing.
writing on your walls?
Yes.
A 4-year-old's writing on your walls? Yes.
She's like highlighting what was written there before.
Yes, indeed. That probably wouldn't have bothered you unless there was some underlying foundational thing that came from some other place. Yeah. Well, Michael, you can't sing, huh? Who else can't sing? Okay. You can't sing? And you can't sing? A little bit. You can't sing. Your mother told you can't sing. Your stepmother told you can't sing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And who told you couldn't sing? My mother. Your mother. We need to. I'm going to talk to him for a little while. Okay. Is that all right with you?
All right.
Okay. So you can't sing.
That's what my mom told me.
That's what your mom told me.
She said it would be better if I didn't.
It would be better if you didn't.
I used to try, but she kept saying, don't.
You would try and she would say don't.
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, this was, and I would sing along, so you know how you do it, just innocently, and she'd say, if you don't hold a tune, you should not sing.
I see. What did your mother do for a living? Or did she?
Yeah, she managed apartments.
She managed apartments?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a great expert in singing.
Yeah.
You know. Was she an expert in singing?
Yeah, she sang.
Well,
in
she
a
sang.
choir. She sang in a choir.
Well, she sang in the choir.
She knew how to sing.
Okay. Have you ever had singing lessons?
Not me.
Do you know how to like use the diaphragm or anything like that?
No.
And breathe properly?
Well, breathing, but that's only through yoga breathing and.
Yeah, but
not singing,
but as far as connecting your breathing to your singing and having lessons and actually learning how to use this instrument called your voice, you have no training.
Not me.
So you really don't know if you can sing or not. Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that accurate?
Well, only by the feedback that I was told that
From
I
your mother?
should not sing. And
Yeah.
sometimes when I sing and I sing along with other people, I hear myself and it doesn't sound right, so I'll sing real quiet.
Okay. Can Johnny Cash sing?
Yeah, I guess so.
Let me sing like Johnny Cash, okay? Please don't. I hear the train a-comin'. It's coming round the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. He doesn't sing, he talks. Okay. Is he a good entertainer? In the eyes of many, yeah. In the eyes of many, yeah. But is he an accomplished singer? Probably not. Okay. What about Willie Nelson? Is Willie Nelson a singer? Good singer? Yes or no? Some people say yes. Some people say. Yeah. Is he a good entertainer? Yeah. Now let me draw a distinction between good entertainer and good singer. I don't want to make. I make points other than value judgments here, but I'm wondering: is Willie Nelson's singing voice in the same category as Barbra Streisand or Luciano Pavarotti or something like that? No. You know, I mean, Willie Nelson is, baby, I didn't love you quite as often as I could have. Not bad, huh? But as far as a pure, beautiful singing voice, maybe not, okay? Good entertainer? Yeah, I enjoy listening to Willie. I enjoy listening to Johnny Cash, for that matter, you know? So maybe there's more to singing, you know, than just the melody and the natural melody of your voice. So there's also training, et cetera. But the point is, you have no idea whether you can really sing or not because you never had any lessons or any training in it. You have your mother, who's an apartment complex manager, who has dubbed you a non-singer, in her opinion, and that opinion got written on your walls, and therefore your propensity to go out in the world and sing isn't quite what maybe it could be. Did I have it right? Interesting. And then when we give you an opportunity to get out of the room you stay in the Palace of Possibilities, just like almost everyone else in here, okay? And most everyone else here did that. Almost all of you, okay? I want to ask somebody a question. Let me ask you a question, Jean. Do you want to buy a Frib Dipple?
Can you tell me more about the Frib Dipple?
What did she just do? She just consulted the writing on her walls to say, what's a Frib Dipple? What was there?
Well, I was like, well, I'd like to say yes, but I better be careful.
What was there about Frib Dipples?
I don't know what they are.
Yeah, there's nothing on your walls about Frib Dipples.
No.
So you got to go, huh? Okay. Let me ask you, John Louis, you want to buy a Frib Dipple?
Sure.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I like taking chances.
All right. $1,000 cash right now, and I'll give it to you at lunch.
Well, I like to try it, take it home, and then I'll see about paying.
No, $1,000. $1,000 cash right now. And I'll give it to you at lunch. What?
No.
You don't want to buy it?
No.
Did he consult the writing on his walls? At first the writing said, oh, well, this is a little joke, a little fun, maybe I'll go along with it. And I said $1,000 and I meant it. you know, and now he doesn't know what it is. And what does the writing on the wall say? It said, no.
Caution.
Caution.
Look before you leap a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't trust those English people or
Don't
something
trust
like that.
By the way, don't trust those English people could be written on his walls, couldn't it? In fact, it probably is in some fashion, maybe even lightly, because it came out of his mouth. And that's a very important thing, and one of the real talents that you can develop is to listen to your own talk, because out of your mouth comes the writing on your own walls. I do that with some frequency, and I'm talking and talking and talking, and all of a sudden something will come out, and I'm listening. I'm aware of it. Now, where did that one come from? Okay. Interesting, interesting. So, Maxine, do you want to buy a Frib Dipple? You don't want, wait a minute, you don't want to?
Actually, I would want to know what they were.
You
That was
wanna know
it
what
was
they
when
were.
you asked him, that was my first question.
Yeah.
In my mind, what is it?
Okay. And you did the same thing he did. Everybody does. You consulted the writing on your walls. There's no Frib Dipple there. So now you want to know more. You want me to write on your walls about what it is. And when I write on your walls, by the way, then you're going to evaluate that. Am I telling you the truth? Or do you want more information still? You know, you're going to do all that. And all you're doing is comparing that to what's already there. And some people will make the decision, no, I'll go ahead and do it. And some won't, and so on, depending on what the input is and what the writing is on their walls. Okay? What I want to make the point of here is it is very powerful what goes on. It goes on all day long. All day long you're doing it. And what's written on your walls is your version of the truth. Okay. Now, I want to give you a sentence. It goes like this. My consistent thoughts become my reality. And what I have just done with that one sentence is I have taken the entire field of psychotherapy, psychology, et cetera, and I've reduced it down to one sentence. If you look at all the various techniques for emotional healing, et cetera, and personal performance growth, and all the other things in that general field, what all the techniques try to do is to shift someone's thoughts so they have a different reality, okay? If you think about something differently, if the writing on your walls is different than the writing that you have, your reality, the way you see the world, will be different still. If you grow up in this world as being somebody that should be seen and not heard, that is one form of reality. If you grow up as Wonder Boy, that's a different one, isn't it? Altogether different, same world. Same world. You'll perceive them differently. And so, if we can somehow change the writing on our walls, that is our consistent thoughts, then we're going to shift our reality. Now, EFT does that quite well to the extent that it takes care of the negativity that is in the way of our more natural, joyous nature. And quite often we will find, someone will have some very negative, anger or trauma or something like that, and we'll use EFT with it, and it just sort of is not in the way anymore. And what happens is it allows the more joyous underlying natural persona to come on up, and people are more joyous, and they will have different perceptions, and they will see the world differently. But that's good. That's not the same thing as installing new ways to go. See, EFT does not install anything new. It allows the natural to show up. But if you want to install something, if you want to install a better perception of earning money, for example, or install a thinner you, from a weight loss point of view, or install, anything else you'd like to move towards. That's what the Palace of Possibilities is all, because you're going to have to change the writing on your walls to move you along in that direction more precisely. Let me see. Who am I going to use for this? Who am I going to use for this? Let me see. Who am I going to use? I'm going to pick somebody out of here. Okay. I haven't heard from you. Would you mind coming up? Do you have a fear of public speaking?
No.
Being seen and not heard and all that? Come on up. Come on up. I'd like to introduce you to the Tooth Fairy. Come on up. Thank you for being brave. Can we have a hand for our Tooth Fairy for Jane? Okay. Now, you just need to hold that, Jane. Okay, so you're going to be the Tooth Fairy. Okay. Now, when I was a young boy, why don't you just stand back just a little bit if you could. When I was a young boy, I believed in the Tooth Fairy. Okay. You too. You believe in the tooth fairy as well. All right. And when I would lose a tooth, in fact, how many here believe in the tooth fairy? I'm curious. Okay. See, this is your friend, all right? And when I would lose a tooth, I'd put it under my pillow, okay? And lo and behold, the tooth fairy would come, take my tooth, and leave me a nickel or a dime or something like that. Big deal, okay? I did notice at one time the tooth fairy somehow or other didn't take the tooth, because I don't think my dad could get his hand underneath my pillow far enough. But anyway, if you're a tooth fairy, so you have to act like one. You have to go, tooth fairy. See, tooth fairies go do like tooth fairies, okay? Now, let me ask you something. Can we have a microphone here? I'm going to ask you a question. Okay. When you were growing up, did you believe in the tooth fairy?
Yes.
Okay. Was the tooth fairy true to you?
Yes.
Okay. Is it true now?
No.
Oh. But when it was true to you, when the tooth fairy was real to you, did you respond as though she was real?
Yes.
Okay, because like I did, you take your tooth and put it in, whatever, okay? Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Let me ask Margot here. Did you do the same thing?
Yes.
Did you believe in the tooth fairy?
Yeah.
And as long as the tooth fairy was written on your walls, it was part of your truth,
Right.
you responded accordingly.
Right.
Was the tooth fairy real?
Yes. Yeah.
It was real at the moment.
Yeah.
Is it real in reality?
Probably not.
Probably not. Well, if you lost, I'm curious something. If you happen to lose a tooth today,
I would not put it under my pillow.
okay, I'm just curious. All right. All right. Well, how many of you? I'm going to ask everybody the same question. When you were young, even at the time, believed in the tooth fairy? Let's see your hands. Okay? And so you would respond accordingly to this truth. Truth was, it was your truth, was it not? Yes, good, okay. And when you didn't believe in it anymore, it's no longer the truth. Is that correct? And you don't put your tooth under the pillow. You don't do that. What about the boogeyman? By the way, we're going to go to the boogeyman for a second. Could we have a hand for our tooth fairy? Thank you, Johnny. But what about the boogeyman? Okay, what about the boogeyman? Let me ask Jojo right here. Who's the boogeyman? I mean, was the boogeyman real for you?
Yes, it was
Oh, yeah.
scary. It was dark. Whenever it was dark, the boogeyman was there in your room.
Yeah, I'll tell you
Or
what
in the
happened.
hallway.
Yeah, and I would lie in bed at night, and the shadows of the leaves, with the moonlight coming in and stuff would make things move on the walls. And that was the boogeyman. Okay, or the boogeyman was out there someplace. The boogeyman was making even if they were leaves to me, the boogeyman was making he's going to come and get me. The boogeyman, okay? And the boogeyman, as long as I had belief in it, as long as the boogeyman was written on my walls, I'm going to respond to the boogeyman, okay? And that's real to me. Same thing with Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, okay? And all of that. But eventually, do we not no longer need those? I mean, somehow or other, somebody comes along and tells us otherwise, and we get other writings on our walls about that. People say, oh, grow up, you don't be such a child. You don't believe in the tooth fairy, do you? Okay, and eventually, nah, we don't believe in the tooth fairy. And our truth changes, okay? And our consistent thoughts now change, and our reality now changes, and the tooth fairy and the boogeyman and Santa Claus and so on and so forth are no longer in it. I suggest to you that we are carrying around within our thoughts, our consistent thoughts now, all of us, tooth fairies. That will someday, they will seem very real to us now, but someday we'll look back and go, it was a tooth fairy. Well, okay, our consistent thoughts become our reality, but what's interesting is we may have a lot of consistent thoughts, but what we also have is a lot of conflicting thoughts, okay? We have thoughts about a particular issue, and we have thoughts about what's right about it, and thoughts about what's wrong about it. Men are really good because, and they're really bad because, okay? And marriage is good because, and marriage is not good because, and so on it goes for topic after topic after topic after topic. And so we have writings on our walls on both sides of all these issues. And what we do with all of that is we make a blend of them. When we end up making a decision, rapid-fire computer known as a brain evaluates all of that under certain circumstances, then comes up with the truth in this issue, in this case about this matter. And I want to illustrate that for you for a second, if I can, on a subject that's near and dear to just about everybody, and that has to do with money, okay? And maybe our blocks towards it, okay? And I remember years ago, I was asked the question, as somebody was trying to help me with my own money blocks. They said, well, Gary, picture a rich man for me, would you? Just, what's a rich man mean to you? And so I made this picture in my mind, which of course comes from the writing on my walls, all right? I said, well, okay, he's like middle-aged, and he's on the portly side, he's bald, he smokes this cigar, he drives this long black Cadillac that pollutes everything, okay? And he lives in this opulent house, okay? Now that's what came up out of my thoughts about what a rich man was, okay? I'd like to have a rich man if I could. And where's my rich man? Myron, would you be my rich man? Come on up here. Can we have a hand for our rich man, please? See, now this rich man is written on my walls. This is years ago, by the way, but it's okay. He's written on my walls. And so here's how you do it. Come on up, Myron. Here's how you do this now, okay? You get this almost like a Groucho Marx thing. You go, okay? Come on back here just a little bit, okay? And I'm going to move this back here too, if I can. Okay, go on. Give it a try. Is that good? Is that good? Is that good? How many of you, by the way, have something like this rich man on your money writing on your walls? Okay? Yeah, I see a few hands. Okay, so you're written on some people's walls. Okay? Now, also, as I was growing up, my father, who's a blue-collar worker, he worked for the government, for the Air Force, okay? He would come home at night, and my dad was never an entrepreneur or anything, government worker and this kind of thing, but he would come home and he would complain sometimes, about money. And I remember him talking about the price of bread at one point. The price of many things he talked about, but when he came to the price of bread this one time, I remember very clearly, he would say this, you see, when he's talking about the bread makers or the corporations or whoever was profiting from all this, he would say, all they're interested in are their profits. You see that lip? See? Profits. They're profits. You see that? That's what he would do. And I'm sitting here, I'm his kid, I'm maybe 11, 12 years old, and my father's going, profits. What does that say to me, by the way? We need a microphone here. What does that say to me? Anybody, raise your hand. What does that say? What does that say? Right here to Gene. What does that say?
That they're dirty and nasty.
Those people who do profits, they're dirty and nasty. Yeah.
Profits are nasty.
And what about people who pursue them?
They're dirty and nasty too.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Becky? What was your thought? You had your hand up, Tom. No, Tom's right here. Oh, you had the same thing as her? Okay, good. All right, good. All right. Okay, but I need my father to come on up here. So would you mind being my father, Jean-Louis? Right. Come on up. Come on up. Can we have a hand for my father? Let's just stand right here next to the rich man, okay? And what you need to do is just give me the lip, okay? Go profits.
Profits.
Oh, that's good. Is that good? Is that good? All right, you do this. Go. Profits.
Profits.
Okay. Now, when I start thinking about doing well in business, I have these things, written on my walls. Do I not? Okay. Now I have another one. When I first went into the business world, I went into it as a life insurance salesman. And so I had to go, I went cold call and stuff, and I'd knock on doors and everything. And they would have these signs on these doors, corporate, would say, no solicitors, okay? And I had this, I don't remember where this thought came from, this writing on my wall, but it said, salespeople are pests. By the way, is that a true statement, salespeople are pests? Is it true of all salespeople? Okay. You don't necessarily have to be a pest, but the stereotype might be pests. Okay? There are some salespeople you would love to do business with because you really like them. They're very honorable and competent. And by the way, you're buying things from salespeople all the time. Okay? And some you like and some you don't. But the general stereotype was they are pests. Okay? Susie, why don't you come on up? Could you? Okay? Can we have a hand for our pest person? Just stand right there. Just stand right there. We're not going to tap or anything. You're going to have to get through this. This is what you. But this is what you do. This is what you do. You're going to go pest. Okay. Go ahead. Okay. Pest. No, at me. Oh, pest. Okay. Prophet. Okay. Okay. Now, actually, I'm going to need to move this table over just a little bit, I think. Now, this is not the only people, or the only writing on my walls. I have writing on the other side of all of this, okay? And I have to get this down here. I say, one of them is this. One of them is this. It says, this is written on my wall. It says, Gary, this is America, the land of personal freedom. You know, go for it. All right? Come on up. And what you do, Nate, is you just go for it. Go for it. Good. Is that good? Is that good? Say, go for it. Go for it. Good. Now you stand right there. Okay. All right. All right. Now, I have someone else. Come on up, Jim. No, I need a lady for this one. Okay. Come on up, Carol. I'm going to pick on you. Okay. Come on. Come on. And here's what you do, Carol. Here's what you do. See, this is a bank book, all right? This is like a checkbook. And you see, in order, if you earn money, you're a good provider. That's what it says here, written on my wall. I'm a good provider. So what you do is you wave this at me and say, you're a good provider, Gary. No, you said to Gary, Gary, you're a good provider.
Gary, you're a good provider.
Okay, is that good? Is that good? Go ahead.
Go for it. You're a good provider.
Good, that's good. Okay, that's good. Thank you, Carol. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, if I earn a lot of money, I'm going to have you help me, can you? Can you come up? If I earn a lot of money, that's a badge in the society, is it not? Now, maybe and all this other stuff, but it's also a badge. Isn't that on there someplace? If you earn a lot of money, you're one of the good people in this world? No, you've done it, so to speak? Okay? So yes, you're going to say, hold this, you're going to say, you're really something, Gary. Okay, go ahead.
You're really something, Gary.
Good. Is that good? Is that good? Okay, now, all right. I want to do something new business-wise. Okay, I'm going to make a sales call. Maybe I'm going to change occupations. Maybe I'm going to do something new in my business. And what am I dealing with over here? Go ahead, all together. Okay, and over here?
Go for it, Gary.
See, all that's going on, isn't it? Now, let's do it again. Do it simultaneously, okay?
Go for it, Gary.
Little competition going on, right? But it's all there. Do you not have your own versions of that someplace? You have the yeses, it's okay to do it, and the no's, and whatever. It's all there. None of it's true, or at least you can't really prove any of it's true because it's all there, right? But it's true to you. It's part of your truth. But how can something be true if it conflicts so badly? But that's what's going on, okay? Now, let me ask you a question. When I first started out in the life insurance business, I earned a little money, but I was earning at one point $18,000 a year. Okay, that was in the early years. And I'm going to, in a moment, after we do this, talk about how I use these tools to go from 18,000 to 400,000. Okay, but in the meantime, what I want to do is I want to make a point about all this. So, at any rate, I'm earning $18,000 a year. The reason I earned $18,000 a year, which by the way was just enough at that time, to buy a little house and have a couple of children and just make ends meet. Okay? Knew I had far more potential than that, but that's what I was earning. And why? Because that's the amount of money for me to earn, so I didn't have to step on these toes too much. Okay? I wasn't too much of a pest. I wasn't getting too much in the way of profits, and I wasn't too much like this greedy, wealthy guy. Okay? But yet I was going for it. Okay, right? And I'm a good provider, and I'm a good man, right? Right? $18,000 was the blend for me to satisfy all of that. Okay? And that is what all of us do in many areas of our life. I'm just using money because it's so prevalent and, up there for everybody to think about, okay? But that's what I do. That's what I do. Let's do that again. All of you. Let's say what? On three. 1, 2, 3.
Go on, Gary.
You like doing that, don't you? Oh, God. So anyway, what I did was I began to develop this this thought. I had a fellow come to see me to our insurance agency. His name was Dick Oakley, and he was a member of what's called the PACE organization. And it was basically, it was their version of the Palace of Possibilities, but they were talking mostly about our self-talk and affirmations, and we're going to do that a little bit later on as we go. But, you know, he would ask me about all these things, and he would say, well, he said, Gary, what we need is an affirmation to help take care of that. I said, okay. And I heard him, when I heard this whole thing and whole talk, I mean, he spoke to me just like that, because I was getting everything he was saying instantly. And we developed this affirmation that says, I earn easily, and consistently $40,000 a year. I was earning 18, I earn easily, consistently $40,000 a year. Now listen to the words for a minute, if you would. It doesn't say, I clench my fists and grit my teeth and do what must be done and work the long hours and suffer and so on and so forth to do it. It says, I earn easily and consistently $40,000 a year. Interesting, huh? Well, I'm going to go through that story for a minute, but I'm going to conclude here for a second. What I'm going to be doing with all these processes and what I'm going to show you here is I'm taking these folks right here, and I'd like to have you all move over a little bit if you could. Okay? And then drop to one knee. Okay, so they're a little bit out of they're farther away now, you know, from the writing on my walls. They're little smaller letters down in the corner. And what I'd like to have you do is do your thing and all that stuff, but quietly. Okay. They're still there. Okay. They don't have that much impact. And I'd like to have you guys come up here a little closer, and I'd like to have you big time yell it, okay? You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Go for it, Gary!
Okay, you guys? No. Okay. All right, now all together. 1, 2, 3.
Go for it, Gary!
Okay. Now that's metaphorically what I'm doing. Okay, that's metaphorically what we're going to do with the Palace of Possibilities. We're going to take some of our things, and EFT, by the way, is one of the major tools to do this. Okay? And the other tools we're going to do are going to help us do this. All right? Can we have a hand for, you guys want to leave your props here? We have a hand for these guys? Thank you, dear. Aren't you glad you came, Susie? Oh, I'm so mean. Some of the people I picked, by the way, are people that I know didn't want to be up here. Anyway, I want to go through this 18,000 to 400,000 because it's important to go through the mechanics of it. Now, I need to tell you in advance that what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dipping into and portraying, if you will, some tools that we're going to develop later today. My purpose of doing this is to give you an overview, a kind of a preview, if you will, of what's to come and how all this fits together. That way, when you see other tools, you will have something seen already about how this tends to work. So anyway, here I was earning $18,000 a year. And I now have this affirmation, I earn easily and consistently $40,000 a year. Well, something important about that was the $40,000 to me was a believable achievement. I didn't know how to do it. I hadn't done it before, but it was still within my belief system to achieve. If they'd have said $4 million a minute, you know, just to exaggerate, I would have gone, huh? I wouldn't even bother doing my affirmation because this wasn't even believable to me, okay? But from 18 to 40, to me, was believable. Now, for you, that might not be believable. We need to go to 18 to 24 or something like that, or 18 to 20. But 18 to 40 was a step for me that was believable. But I did not know how to do it. And I did not change consciously anything that I was doing. That is, I did not work longer hours. I did not go in on Saturday. You know, I didn't force myself to make some extra calls or anything like that. I just went ahead and did my normal business. And by the way, my normal business was, since I was earning $18,000 a year, was to call on people that made, how much? $18,000 a year. Why? Because they're like me, you know, they're in the same room I'm in financially in the Palace of Possibilities, okay? They're like me. If I were to go outside of that room, I go outside my comfort zone to business owners, they're bigger than me. Some of them earn more in a year than the entire amount of life insurance I have on my life, okay? They're bigger than me. I'm too young. Okay, I'm in my 20s at the time. I'm 30 at the time. You know, I have all these other reasons written on my walls that are in the way. But I knew those were fictions, but emotionally they were not. They were still the truth on my walls. So I would say I earn easily and consistently $40,000 a year. And I said it over and over. No, I must have said it 50 times a day. I don't remember anymore. I'd say it when I was driving. And I had no problem saying it, and because it didn't even get boring to me. Because I knew what I was doing is conditioning my thoughts and doing it. I didn't know anything about EFT at the time. I didn't even know, that I had blocks that I could tap away. I was just going to overwhelm them, which is another way to do this. Okay, if I had known EFT, it would happen faster. Okay. But anyway, as I would say that to myself, little by little, gradually things started to happen, and I didn't always notice them, but in one case I remember. The manager of the office came to me and he said, well, Gary, we had somebody call in and they want to buy a medical insurance policy. Okay? And so if you want, go out and see them, write it up. And I remember saying to myself, if I go out and sell this little medical insurance policy, commission might be $50 or $75 or something like that. And I thought, well, no, my sights are bigger than that. Interesting little piece of self-talk. Before I would have said, oh my God, you mean I don't have to make a cold call or anything? I can just go out and just write this thing up and I can earn $50 or whatever. Oh, I'll do that, I mean, I'll grab it in a minute. But my attitude changed because I was shifting, this blend, if you will, that I talked to for a minute. It was shifting in my mind. I said, no, why don't you give that to one of the other agents? And I meant it, okay? I just observed that I said that, because I wouldn't have said that before, okay? And then I began to imagine. I would daydream, if you will. And that's one of the major tools we're going to talk about later is daydreaming. I would daydreaming, visiting with business owners, but being very comfortable. And the way I would do that is I would imagine they were my fraternity brothers in college. And there's like a beer tavern we go to and drink beer and stuff like that. And they were sitting across from me, and like they were my fraternity brothers. And we were just talking. I just kept imagining it that way, and imagining and imagining. And what happens is if you imagine something vividly and do it often enough, you start to create the neurology inside of you as though you had actually done it. Okay, that's interesting. It's a fascinating tool, and we all have that ability. And so I would do that. And then one day, maybe, I don't know, a month or two later, my income really hadn't changed very much. My attitude was starting to change, but the income really, I hadn't seen much change in the income. But it was about 5 o'clock at the end of the day, and I happened to be driving by a business, which was a tree surgery business. This business went out and they pruned trees and took care of trees that fell over in storms and stuff like that, okay? And I had seen the trucks running around the community called McClenachans, and so I went in, I thought, well, I'll just make a cold call. 5 o'clock, I'll make a cold call. So I went in, and Henry McClenahan, a man in his late 50s, and here I am, 30 years old, says, how you doing? What did you want? And I felt very comfortable. He's a businessman, okay? A very successful, well-known businessman, by the way. And I said, well, I'm in the insurance business. I had a few ideas. He says, well, don't need much insurance, but come on in. Okay, so we sat down, and I had this very comfortable conversation with him. And we talked a little bit about insurance and what I did, estate planning, and I was pretty good technically at what I was doing. And he ended up saying, he says, I like the cut of your jib. Why don't you come back? And so I did, and that was my first business owner. He did some business with me. He referred me to some others. And from there, after a year, and I kept saying, by the way, I earn easily, consistently $40,000 a year. By the end of the year, I very naturally, without ever once gritting my teeth and clenching my fists and using willpower, easily and consistently was earning at the rate of $40,000 a year at the end of the year, okay? I was calling on business owners. See, what it turns out was it's much harder to get someone who's earning $18,000 a year, which is my previous clientele, to make a decision on to spend $400 or $500 for some kind of a policy. It's much more difficult to get that decision than it is to go to a business owner who thinks nothing of spending $4,000 or $5,000 making a decision like that. It's an easier decision, and yet it's a bigger one. Okay, and there's more business in it, and so on, and so I ended up doing his group insurance plan, all his health insurance, and personal insurance, and business insurance, and stuff like that. Did the whole thing, and from that point I began to develop, and I was earning $40,000 a year. So I thought, well, this is easy, and I did not work a minute's more time, and I actually was spending less time doing it. It was happening easily and consistently. So I said, well, okay, I'll just change my affirmation. I earn easily and consistently $60,000 a year. And at the end of a year, there it was. I earn easily and consistently $80,000 a year. $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year, $400,000, and at $400,000, I just got a little bored with it. I'm serious. I had other things to do than to sit there and keep upping this thing and all of that. So I ended up in the investment business and got business at that level and went on to other things. But that's really interesting. At no time did I ever use willpower. At no time. It all happened by changing the writing on my walls. Okay? Any questions about that? Surely there must be, because a number of you have writing on your walls about money, Must be a hand. Yeah, right back here to Maxine, please. Here, we need right here to Maxine.
So you're saying that you just use the affirmation to lower the negative?
Yeah.
Writing on the wall.
In this case, I did two things. I used the affirmation and the imagination of me being very comfortable with wealthy business people.
Okay.
Because to me, see, they were bigger than me. Before that, if I were to call them, it's a big gulp, I don't belong here, I'm a pest, all that kind of stuff. So I had to get rid of that. And rather than using EFT, which I didn't have at the time, I just overwhelmed it with the positive. And I took these where am I? The negative ones, and I pushed them over here to one knee, et cetera, like we're talking about, just by overwhelming them. Nowadays, I'd use EFT, and I'd get them out of there quicker.
Okay.
Okay? Go ahead, here to my room. Go, first of all, go, Okay, good. Just so we have your persona down well. Okay.
Wasn't the fact that your mom considered you a wonder child a help in the ability to do that daydreaming?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But see, that just because I'm wonder boy to my mother doesn't mean when I get out in the big wide world, the rest of the world thinks that. Okay? And so that doesn't mean you never have any self-doubts. It's that you have a foundation you can really build on. And yes, that is very helpful. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Okay? But nowadays, see, even if that was an impediment, there's an EFT-able, tappable thing. Go ahead, here to Michael, if we could.
Well, in yesterday's work, in my own introspection, as I was kind of piggybacking along on some of the stuff you were saying, I was aware that as a kid, my father and my father beat me. Not physically beat me, but he overpowered me. Made sure he knew he was the boss and he was stronger than me and I wasn't.
Sounds like a nice insecure father.
Yeah. So in business, what I've noticed is I can't earn as much as he's earned.
Oh, that's not written on your walls, is it?
Oh, it's indelible. I mean, it must be really deep because I feel that struggle of impotence come up when I start to make a bigger amount of money.
We have a tappable issue, gentlemen. Sir, we have a very expensive issue in our head. Finish this sentence for me. If I earned more money than my father, the consequences would be?
This is real new thinking because I never even aware of this until yesterday.
Okay.
If I earn more money than my father, my consequence would be that I'd beat him. I would beat him.
And the consequences of that would be?
He wouldn't like me. Or he'd have to beat me somehow.
Or he'd have to beat you somehow. Yeah. How do you know he wouldn't like you?
That just came out.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. See,
competition. There's some kind of competition between he and I.
The beautiful thing about this process, for those of you who use EFT, in your workplace, you can start doing the Palace of Possibilities, the things like we're doing now, and it will trigger issues to tap on, just like we have here. Very expensive. I mean, that thing can cost you zillions of dollars.
It probably has already.
And you probably already. This is my guess. Do you, at some level, and answer with whatever really seems true to you? Okay.
Okay.
Do you, at some level, have the potential to earn far more than you're doing?
Sure.
You know that?
I have already earned far more than I earn right now, and I've let it drop back because, again, introspecting, I wondered, that was too much.
Yes. Yeah. Written on your walls, too much. Don't earn too much money, or that's what.
Something's wrong. Yeah. My brother-in-law earns way more money than my father has ever earned. But I'm not. I can't do that.
Okay, thank you. I can't do that. Interesting words, by the way. Why don't you change that with I don't know how to do that?
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, it seems a little lighter, right? When you say
well,
can't.
I like that, but it just comes out.
Yeah, we're going to talk about words. We're going to talk about words a little bit later. Okay. What were we talking? I had amazing wisdom that was going to come out before I did that. What were we talking about before that?
I was mentioning my brother-in-law can earn more than my father can, but I can't do that.
Oh, I know what I was talking about. Yeah, or what I was thinking. What we're talking about here is what I call a tail ender. Quite often people will do affirmations, okay, and they'll say, well, my normal weight is some lower weight, and that's what I weigh, okay? But then these tail enders come up, and they say, who you kidding, fatso, okay? If you lost that much weight, you know, then the consequences would be. And the same thing happens here. If we do an affirmation, I earn easily consistently some amount of money more than your father, this tail ender is going to come up. And that's the beautiful thing about using this process, is you start dealing with your clients or yourselves, and you look at those tail enders, and those tail enders are the true affirmation. Not the one you want to be the affirmation. The tail enders are the true ones. Those are the ones that are really there. And those are the ones you need to tap on and take care of. Okay? Is that clear? Yeah, okay. Other comments on this 18 to 400,000, yeah.
I just had,
right, we need it. Okay.
I just had an amazing thing come up for me. My father was a steel worker, and during most of my lifetime, our valley was steel workers. During most of my lifetime, my father didn't earn a lot of money. Toward the end of his career, the unions got stronger, and steel workers made a lot of money. But because of that, I heard from so many people that it destroyed the valley, because when the steel workers made more money, steel was no longer, I mean, the steel workers, the steel mills went under. And my father, being a steel worker, was partly responsible for destroying the valley because he earned a lot of money.
Yeah, and therefore, perhaps, if you earn a lot of money, you'd be responsible for destroying some other things. I don't know if that's really comes up as a conclusion from that, does it?
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Sometimes we don't even know. But the mere fact that you mentioned that, and I don't, there's no way I know I'm ever in somebody's head, I really know, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn that somewhere back there was earning a lot of money was being something like your father and something like destroying all that back there, or people not liking you because you did that and so on.
Right.
See, if you somehow earn a lot of money and you perceive, or your father earns a lot of money, and you perceive that ruins the economy of a whole valley. Nobody likes somebody who ruins the economy of a whole valley. That would be your perception. I have a very difficult time putting together logically your father earning a lot of money and the whole entire valley economy falling, or a steel mill plant closing. Nonetheless, as illogical as it may sound, it becomes the truth in our system until we start looking. Remember I talked about tooth fairies? We have a tooth fairy? Absolutely. We have lots of tooth fairies. And we don't even know what our tooth fairies are, okay? But we have tons of them all over the place. Tooth fairy, tooth fairy, tooth fairy, tooth fairy, okay? Oh, God. Anyway. I think we're doing it time-wise here. Oh, we're doing all right, okay. I want you to take your handout, and several pages into your handout is a page at the very top of it. It says, aha. Okay? Just turn to that page if you would. And what I'd like to have you do, if you look at that box up there, you're just going to pay attention to that top box where it says finish these sentences. Notice it says use your first response only. I'm going to have you finish these sentences, and I'm just going to give you a few seconds each. Please don't write anything down yet, okay? But I need to give you instructions. There's a tendency to write down what you think should be the right answer. The politically correct, socially correct right answer, that everybody would agree with, and da-da-da-da. That's not what we want. That is the wrong answer, okay? That is the wrong answer. All we want here is your first response, whatever word, even if it makes no sense to you, that's okay. Just write it down. So if you would, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to fill out all 4 of those. So if you would, right now, 10 seconds, write something down for all 4 of them. Okay, stop right there. Nate, would you do me a favor? Would you help me move? I want to move this thing in the center up there so everybody can see it. Okay. Whoops. All right there. Okay, good. All right. What I would like to do is is to have you tell me what you wrote down. Oops. For the fourth one. Anybody yell it out. Filthy rich people are what? Wait, okay, wait a minute. Arrogant, evil, destroy, world, wait a minute, lucky, greedy, sad, selfish, I hear spoiled, stingy, on TV, thank you. What else? Superficial. Okay, what else? Humorous. Conceited, not in my, wait a minute, conceited, not in my family, not in family, my family. Okay, let me stop right there. Okay. All right. Now, thank you for this. What some people do is they try to massage all things as well. You know, what I really ought to say is so and so and so and so. But see, often that's the first thing that comes to you. There's a lot of negatives up here, aren't there? And by the way, I wrote it so fast, I'm not even sure I can finish my handwriting here. But see, the first one I wrote down here was filthy rich people are arrogant. By the way, some people come up to me sometimes and they'll say, well, Gary, why did you say filthy rich people? Why didn't you just say rich people or mega rich people or something like that? And I could have. But it's interesting to notice that even the phrase filthy rich people has within it something negative about earning a lot of money. If you're really rich, you are filthy. That's a phrase for it, filthy rich, right? Interesting, okay? But anyway, rich people, filthy rich people, whatever. So they're arrogant. Now, if you have the writing on your walls that very rich people are arrogant, do you want to be perceived as arrogant? Do you? No. And so as long as being a rich person is to be an arrogant person, you don't want to be perceived that way. And yet somewhere written on your walls is the label arrogant for somebody who earns that much money. And somebody, you're evil. Evil. Okay, now logically this makes no sense, okay? You laugh when I said, can I have the microphone for Jim here a second, okay? So you don't ever laugh. You know, I'll get it in there. But let me ask you something. Is it true that there are some rich people who are evil?
Perhaps it's not my truth.
Oh, it's not your truth?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Oh, who would agree with the fact, who believes that there are some rich people that are evil? But let's go here. Let's go back here to. We'll take Jack because we haven't heard from you for a while. Okay. Okay. There are some rich people that are evil.
Yes.
That's in your belief system.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Are there some rich people who are quite the opposite? Philanthropic, do-gooders.
Yes.
Move and shake the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there some rich people who are? Excuse me. Are there some poor people who are evil?
Yes. Yeah.
Come to think of it, there might be a few. And if you were to guess, would there be more evil people that are poor than those that are rich?
Never thought of that before.
Well, I know. We don't think of a lot of things before, okay?
Probably so.
Probably so.
Probably so.
There may well be. In fact, they would have more motivation, at least, to be the greedy part of it, right? The greedy part of evil. If you greedy's on here too. Are some rich people greedy?
Appears so.
Yes. Are some poor people greedy?
Yeah, I guess it'd have to be.
How many would agree that some poor people are greedy? And how many agree that some rich people are greedy? Well, as long as you're going to judge greedy on somebody, why not just be rich? If you're going to be judged anyway, you're going to be judged as being poor or greedy. Why not? Or poor or rich? If you're going to be greedy anyway, why not be rich? Why not do it in style? Okay? You're going to be judged. You are going to be judged however much money you make. Okay? We'll get back here in a second. Interesting one here is lucky. Now, what lucky says to me, see, how many people had the thought and would agree somewhere that rich people are lucky? See, what that says to me, and I don't know if it says this to you or not, but I'm just giving you reflections. See, if I have that, in order to be rich, I have to be lucky. I have to win the lottery. I have to just fall into something, or so I have to. Rich people are just lucky, which also means I don't have the ability to do it. That's what that means. I don't have the ability, so I have to be lucky to do it. Interesting limit on your walls that I don't have the ability. Okay. We had a question back here or something, Debbie.
I think that you're using false apposition, and I don't appreciate that. I think that's intellectually dishonest.
Okay.
If the issue is only how one is going to be judged, how shallow. I mean, I presume you're an intelligent man. You have some concept of distribution of world economics. And I mean, I understand what the goal is here, is to help us get beyond our personal unnecessary limitations, but do we have to do it at the expense of the rest of our thinking? You know, I mean, to make out as if the only concern that matters is what people think of us. That seems preposterous to me, and I don't appreciate it.
Yeah, it does to me too.
Thank you.
It does to me too. And I didn't mean to give that impression. By the way, let me make a point. That when I was, by the way, how many here had the same take that she had? Okay, well, you stand alone, but that's okay. See, it's not a criticism. It's not a criticism.
It's hard to go against the group, though.
Okay, well, and thank you for bringing it up. What I'd like to point out, though, which may be helpful for the group for that, and thank you. What might be helpful there is, when I'm saying what I'm saying, you are doing what everybody else is doing, and that is you are looking at the writing on your walls and interpreting it, okay? And that's what the interpretation came out, and it was a negative one, okay? That's not good or bad, it's just to point out what we do, okay? Somebody else can hear what I'm saying and find it very positive and very helpful. Other things I say as this day goes on, somebody else is going to say, oh, he has no right to say that. And it's not them that's saying it. Very important point. It's the writing on their walls that is saying it. She wants the microphone. Go ahead.
No, I'm not saying you don't have the right to say that. I just think in particular when we're talking about economics, that to remove it from the concept of global distribution of wealth and justice and inequity seems like an appalling thing to do, considering how many people are suffering at the expense of others being well-to-do.
Yes,
I just wanted to bring the larger context.
Yes, and you're correct.
I really appreciate what you do, and I admire your work altogether.
Yeah. And this particular society we're in, this culture we're in, sucks up more energy than the rest of the world combined, and there are all kinds of things that we can criticize us about. I would point out to you that this is not even, that's not even in my thinking. We happen to be in this particular culture. We're talking about the writings on people's walls and how they respond to it, and you gave us a great example there, because you have, what happened was I did all this, and your social consciousness came up, and that's written all over your walls, and this collided with that. Now, in a way, you could say you and I are having an argument in a way. What I'm saying is, I'm saying it very positively here, whenever we have an argument or a difference of opinion, it's never the two people. This is a very important concept. In fact, I was going to put it on this later, but this is now a good time for it. Whenever you have any kind of a disagreement or a conflict, it is never between the two people. Ever, ever, ever. Who's it between? The writing on the walls. That's what it is. And as long as you can stand back from that and be detached from that and recognize that what's really going on here is the writing on my walls doesn't comply with the writing on their walls and vice versa, that allows you a certain peace and freedom in these relationships. Very important to do, okay? Very important. Now, we can go on and on about that. We have somebody that's humorous, okay, about, you know, rich people are, et cetera. But I think I made the point here that what happens is we have a lot of limits that occur just by what's written on our walls. Now, I had other things here like physically fit people are, salespeople are, Elvis Presley was, and so on. And we're not going to go over those now in the interest of time. That's just for you to look at a little later on and see if you can't find a limit for yourself within your own responses.